Welcome everyone to the June 26th Lower Southampton Township Board of Supervisors meeting. Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you everyone for coming tonight. I appreciate it. I'd like to announce right off the bat that Supervisor Ottinger, our Township Engineer John Everett, and Mike Italia, who is head of our zoning department, couldn't be here tonight. The Board of Supervisors held an executive session at 6 p.m. where the bulk of our conversation tonight was the amusement tax ordinance that we currently have on our books. We have not ever implemented that, and the Board of Supervisors are thinking about possibly moving forward with this in the future. We also spoke about the Playwiki Park Love Grows lease. We spoke about single-use bags. Mr. Mulholland spoke about his summer camp programs and the Valley of Fear parking fees. And Mr. Coppins also spoke about the possible speed hump project that we've been talking about now for the past few months.
Mr. Chair, the executive session, we discussed some personnel matters.
I apologize, Mr. Dillon. Thank you very much for reminding me about that. I was here for that. You are right. Alrighty. As of right now, I would like to open the floor to public comment. If anybody in the public would please like to come up. Mr. Chrysanthus, if you could please sign in, state your name, and we have a 3-minute time limit, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I got plenty of them. Well, my last name's 12 letters, so it makes it a lot easier. Frank Chrysanthus, 301 Heights Lane. First off, I want to say thank you for putting the list of people, of banners, up on in the website. But one issue is that there's no addresses where they're located. My suggestion is, maybe not for this year, but for next year, when they put them up, they could write the address down and then put it on the website. Yeah, the way you have it, it's like 4 in a row. I don't know, maybe it's on my phone that way. Rather than just listing, there's I think, 45 banners we put up. So that's one thing. A while back, I suggested concerning speed bumps, some countries in Europe paint optical illusions to make it look like they're raised. Now that's a very cheap solution. I gave it to
You did mention that. Yep.
Mr. Galdo. It's only paint, and painting it. For some of these back roads, it might be worth the effort to try. How much is paint? Not that much. A stencil and paint. I mean, Mr. Galdo could show you some of the pictures in some of these European countries. And I came in on the tail end, I'm against any taxes, because the end result is we pay it. Since President Biden has been president, our inflation rate's been like 19-20% overall in 3.5 years. Anything that you pass on to businesses, we pay. Can't have that. I would like nix any taxes. And I believe they're raising the education tax? School tax, right? 5%? That's more money out of people's pockets. It doesn't affect me, I rent. But a lot of people do own houses. So if you want more money, be more efficient with the money we get. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chrysanthus. Frank, thank you. Anybody else? Hello, Mr. Stevens. How are you, sir?
I'm hanging in there. My name's Glenn Stevens. I live at 345 East Myrtle Avenue in Feasterville. Residents, taxpayers, lend me your ears. I'm here this evening again seeking answers. I ask that you use your common sense, your logic, and reason to try to understand my skepticism and frustration. Mr. Italia made decisions and actions not in keeping with the unbiased public servant we pay him to be. He has apparently convinced our government that all of his actions and decisions were correct and on the up and up. Why do you, my fellow taxpayers, think that Mike Italia has expended no effort to try to convince me he's done the right thing. The last thing that Mike Italia ever said to me was, "No comment." I believe that was, I'm guessing, it was at the direction of Mr. Dillon. Now, how is pleading the fifth ever raised confidence in somebody? Has it ever raised confidence in anybody who has pled the fifth? It certainly hasn't for me. I promise to stop attending these meetings as soon as my questions are answered. Do you think Mike enjoys listening to me speak the truth here twice a month? Only he has the ability to make me stop. Fellow residents, wouldn't you think that if his actions were just, he would not only be willing to, but eager to answer my questions and clear his name? I believe it was probably Mr. Dillon who suggested months ago, no comment thing. Mr. Dillon then came up after his no comment thing, after just one application of the Fifth Amendment, it became obvious that doing so was a bad look. Mr. Dillon then came up with a plan to bar my addressing him completely. Sir, you were here with the exception of your sabbatical you took a couple of months ago. You never miss a meeting, right?
I tend not to.
Have you ever seen people ask Mike questions?
Mr. Stevens, as always, you're supposed to address the board.
I'm just talking to my fellow citizens.
That's fine, but you're supposed to address the board. Mr. Stevens, you're supposed to address the board, sir.
So, I know of no one else who has ever been banned from speaking to Mike Italia except for me. Seems personal. When I refused to be cowed, Mr. Dillon went so far as to falsely accuse me of slander.
Stevens, your 3 minutes are done, sir. Thank you.
Son of a gun!
Anybody else tonight for public comment?
Good looking out.
Anybody else for public comment? All right, seeing none, we will move on to the consent agenda tonight. Line item 1, A, approval of minutes, June 12th, 2024. B, approval of accounts payable, June 26th, 2024. C, approval of certain recurring monthly bills, June 26th, 2024. D, approval of professional escrow release for Feasterville Realty Associates, 100-210 East Street Road for the amount of $17,611.16. E, approval of construction escrow release number 2 for Blunden Builders, 23 Trevose Road for the amount of $120,344.38. And F, approval of construction escrow release number 1 for Frank DeSandro, 1834 North Buck Road for the amount of $34,868.08. Do we have a motion for line item 1?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Bowman. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second from Mr. Peritano. Any further discussion from the board? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Line item number 2, consider awarding the 2024 Bucks County Consortium fuel bid. Mr. Coppin, sir.
Thank you, Board Chair. On June 14th, 7 bids were received by Southampton Township, who handles the 2024 and 25 consortium fuel bid through Penn Bid. 6 companies bid on the $5,999 or less gallons delivery. I recommend that we award the following companies that were the low bidders for $5,999 or less gallons delivery charge per gallon in the fuels we use. That would be Wiggins for unleaded regular gasoline at 0.1790 gallons delivery charge, ultra low sulfur diesel at 0.3190 gallons delivery charge, off-road diesel fuel at 0.3440 gallon delivery charge, Colonial Oil Industries for number 2 heating oil at 0.4218 gallons delivery charge. Total approximate cost for the contract period is $166,702.50. Contract period is from August 1st, 2024 through July 31st, 2025. Board Chair.
All right, thank you, Mr. Coppins. Mr. Dillon, sir, I see here that we have two separate motions. Should we put a motion as stated for line item 1 first, and then just move on to 2?
Rich combined the two, I make...
Okay, so just a motion as stated by our
Yeah, well, Mr.
head of Public
Collins.
Works. All right, so do we have a motion as read by Mr. Coppins, head of Public Works?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Castle. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Bowman. Any discussion from the board? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you very much, Mr. Coppins, for that. Line item 3, consider adoption of Resolution 2024-27, disposition of old files. Mr. Galdo, sir.
Thank you, Board Chair. Basically, this is just the disposition of certain records that are in accordance with regard to the Municipal Records Manual. In the Finance Department, there are 15 items. With the Public Works Department, there are 2 items. And with the Township Manager's Office, there are 3 items. And the fourth one is, the Fire Marshal's Office was basically 1 item. As far as compliance with the Finance Department, accounts payable files, typically you retain for 7 years, cash receipts retained for 3 years, bank statements retained for 7 years, canceled checks retained for 7 years, rebates 7 years, local and real estate tax summary retained for 5 years, terminated employee files retained for 5 years. In Public Works, the bids, you retain for 6 years if awarded. Township Manager's Office, basically his budget sheets retained for 7 years. Insurance policies, you retain for 6 years. Memos on personnel, you retain as long as there's an administrative value to it. Employment applications that are not hired, retained for 2 years. Any RFPs retained for 6 years if awarded. In the Fire Marshal's Office, fire investigations, you retain for 10 years. And in this case, Mike is going to basically digitally archive some of those records, or most of those records. So we'd be looking for a board's approval to dispose of.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Galdo. So the motion would read to adopt Resolution 2024-27, disposition of old files. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Peritano.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Castle. Any discussion from the board? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Line item number 4, consider approval of payment for the unfunded escrow release to Begley, Carlin, and Mandia for the amount of $10,367.50 with regard to the work performed on the proposed federal housing project at 1834 Brownsville Road. Mr. Galdo, sir, if you could fill us in with that a little bit.
Thank you, Board Chair. Yeah, since Mike's not here, I'll handle this. Basically, you have work that was performed by our solicitor with regard to Federation Housing on 1834 Brownsville Road. The amount that's due is $10,367.50. So we're asking for a board approval with regard to this. So Frank, as our professional service provider here, so he could be paid. Typically, it is paid out of the escrow department. In this case, we have attempted, I believe, on a couple times to get that escrow funded, and that has not occurred as of yet. I believe Mike is working on to get that funded, but with regard, due to the fact that this is a large amount of money that Frank has provided service on, or his firm has provided service on, we're looking for approval for that to be paid, sir.
All right. All right, so the motion would be to approve payment for the unfunded escrow release to Begley, Carlin, and Mandia for the amount of $10,367.50 with regard to the work performed on the proposed Federation Housing Project at 1834 Brownsville Road. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Bowman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Castle. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So for my own edification, this is money that would normally come out of the property holders
Yep.
escrow account,
The developers, yes.
and is there a reason why they didn't get their escrow fully funded?
The part of it is that it was funded and it has been depleted, so there is
Oh, so they
additional,
have to-
yeah, so they have to
pay it off.
replenish it again.
Okay.
Yes.
You may have said that.
Yep, that's not a problem.
Thank you.
All right. Any further questions from the board?
Is this recoverable from the applicant?
We're going to attempt to make
Well,
it recoverable. so-
Yeah, the answer is, Mike and I have been chasing it. We got a letter from Mr. Murphy saying it would be paid within the last week. The issue came up was because discussions between Joe and I saying, well, there's no money in the escrow, and this happens on occasion. I said, well, does that mean if we do work and you don't collect the money, that that's our problem? You know, but this one's so big, Joe wanted to bring it to your attention.
Thank you very much. So just my comment in regards to this is not, I find it, kind of, well, I shouldn't say funny, but kind of funny that here Federation Housing appeals the decision of the Board of Supervisors, and I feel, the majority of the community, and now they're not even funding, their escrow, which I think is just a slap in the face to the taxpayers of this township. I think that's horrible. So, all right, so any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Line item number 5, consider approval of corrected change order for Steel Road lateral repair. Mr. Dillon, sir.
So this was a result of work that was done to check a lateral. The engineer sent out the contractor to investigate and see what and if there was a problem. There was a bill submitted for $5587.53. It was agreed that this bill would be split between the contractor and the township. And Joe asked John for an invoice, and John sent an invoice for half the amount. Joe thought it was for the whole amount, so they only got a quarter. We only approved a quarter, so it's just approving what the original amount was supposed to be, which was $2793.76, of which you've already approved half.
All right. And once again, Mr. Dillon, just for myself, is there any reason why I should recuse myself because I live on Steel Road?
No.
All right, thank you very much. All right, so the motion would read to authorize the change order payment to KBC Construction for the amount of $2,793.76 for the Steel Road lateral repair. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Perrotano. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Castle. Any discussion from the board?
Just one question. Does this rescind the previous agreement? And this is the corrected version?
This is I don't know if Joe paid half already or not.
We have not paid, because we knew that this had to be corrected, so that the $1396 was not paid, so we're correcting this with the $2,700 being approved for tonight.
Okay, does that motion from 2 weeks ago have to be withdrawn or anything, or this is just a clerical cleanup?
I think it's a clerical cleanup. Yeah,
Okay.
Joe and Nick know what it is.
I want to make sure our taxpayers know.
All right, very good then. Any other discussion from the board? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Mr. Galdo, sir, manager's report.
Thanks, Board Chair. Real quick, just the manager's report is with regard to the Township Administration Building being closed on Thursday, July 4th. We'll reopen on Friday, July 5th at 9 a.m. Trash, and we asked Ms. Scarrow just to confirm it, trash and recycling will be collected on Wednesday, and yard waste will be collected on Friday. So we just wanted to make sure the residents are aware of that. As far as the additional part on the manager's report, again, we have the 4th of July parade, but I'll let a board member speak on to that. Just as an FYI, in your local spirit, they had a reference in the 4th of July parade. It actually has the wrong date involved. It has it as Wednesday instead of Thursday. And then also reference Miss Connie Perry, who has passed. So that what's in the spirit is not correct. But we want to make sure, the average person does know that the 4th of July is on the 4th and on a Thursday in this respective year. And again, it's for 1 p.m. But that's all I have, Board Chair.
We have a rain date?
Rain date, I believe, is the 8th.
Is the 8th?
Yes, which would be, yep. Actually, hold on a second, Saturday the 6th.
Saturday,
Six, yep.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Gallo. Moving on to supervisors' comments. Ladies first, Mrs. Bowman.
Everybody, since this is our last meeting before the July 4th weekend, I just want to remind everyone to be safe if you are barbecuing or setting off fireworks, especially around children. Also regarding kids and safety, kids should be wearing bike helmets, not riding in the middle of the street. So parents, please be diligent with your children while they are riding bikes. And I hope everybody has a happy and safe July 4th.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Bowman. Mr. Peritano, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to wish everyone a happy 4th coming up. I hope everybody, our residents, can come out to the parade. It's always a great event. I know it's a little hot sometimes, but you know, it's a great time. It's great to see all the people in the community come out and just have something to you know, celebrate. So it's always a good thing. Other than that, I want to thank our residents for coming out tonight, and those who attended our work session, voicing their opinion. Well, took everything under consideration, and hopefully be moving forward with a you know, final decision sometime in the coming months. So thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Peritano. Mr. Kessel, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our parade, July 4th, the supervisors will be there in the heat, so we hope people will come out and say hi to us and not throw tomatoes.
Too expensive.
Yes. Our next meeting is July 10th. There should only be one meeting in July, so make sure you take a note of that in your phone. And also, the township shares a lot of information on its emails that come out around once a week. lowersouthamptontownship.org. A lot of the things that we discussed in a work session or during a board meeting are mentioned in the email. I see a lot of people say, I didn't hear about this, I didn't know about it. You probably don't get our emails. So please sign up for that. It's no charge. And as always, thank you everyone for coming out tonight. We're here to serve you, and we appreciate your feedback, good or bad, and we'll do our best. Thank you much, Mr. Jim.
Thank you, Mr. Castle. As everybody else had said, I'd just like to wish all of you here and at home viewing a very happy and blessed 4th of July. Enjoy time with your family. You know, try not to drink too much. Try not to eat too much. And just enjoy yourselves. At this time, can we get a motion for adjournment?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, Mr. Castle made the motion. Mrs. Bowman made the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you very much, everyone.